Good morning. The candle is lit. The fire fairies have been here. Come join me for circle time. My name is Daisha and I'm from Apple Blossom. Good morning, dear earth. Good morning, dear sun. Good morning, dear stones and flowers, everyone. Good morning, dear beasts and birds in the air. Good morning to you and good morning to me. This morning, when I went on a walk outside, I heard the birds chirping. The wind was still a bit chilly here, but I know that spring is on its way. The snow has melted and the birds are chirping. I wonder what other signs of spring that you might be seeing. Spring is coming, birdies build your nest. Weave together straw and feather, doing each your best. Spring is coming, flowers are blooming too. Daisies, lilies, daffodillies, all are coming through. Spring is coming, all around the world. Shimmer, glimmer on the river, joy is everywhere. It's still too cold here to plant our seeds outside, but maybe some of you are starting seeds inside, and we can look forward to gardening when it warms up. I dig, and I plant some seeds. I rake, and I pull some weeds. I wait and I watch, and soon I know my garden sprouts and begins to grow. I wonder what all those worms are doing underneath the ground. I can imagine that they're tunneling and climbing and crawling and wiggling up and down and up and down. And today I have a story for you about two worms named Mr. Wiggles and Mr. Waggles. Mr. Wiggles lived on one side of the grassy hill and Mr. Waggles lived on the other. And they lived in identical houses that worked like this. When they wanted to go inside, they opened their door, pop. They went inside, pop, and closed their door, pop. Well, one day, Mr. Waggles wanted to visit Mr. Wiggles. So he opened his door, pop. He went outside, pop, and closed his door, pop. Then he went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill until he came to Mr. Wiggles' house. Knock, 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 Mr. Wiggles. But nobody answered. Knock, 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 oh, Mr. Wiggles. But still nobody answered. So poor Mr. Waggles had to go all the way back home. He went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill until he got back home. Then he opened his door, pop. He went inside, pop, and closed his door, pop. Well, the next day, Mr. Wiggles wanted to visit Mr. Waggles. So he opened his door, pop. He went outside, pop, and closed his door, pop. Then he went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill until he came to Mr. Waggles' house. Knock, 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 Mr. Waggles. But Mr. Waggles did not answer. Knock, knock, knock. Oh, Mr. Waggles. But Mr. Waggles still did not answer. So poor Mr. Wiggles had to go all the way back home. He went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill until he got back home. Then he opened his door, pop. He went inside, pop, and closed his door, pop. Well, the next day, Mr. Wiggles and Mr. Waggles wanted to visit each other at the exact same time. So they opened their doors, pop. They went outside, pop, and closed their doors, pop. Then they went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill until they met at the top of the hill, exactly in the middle. They were so excited to see each other. They went rolling down the hill, and then they ran back up. And they did it again. They rolled down the hill and they ran back up and they did it again. They rolled down the hill and they ran back up until they were so tired that they couldn't roll anymore. And so they decided to have a little chat. Oh, Mr. Wiggles, how have you been? You know, I went to your house yesterday, but you were not at home. Well, Mr. Waggles, I have been fine, but I went to your house too, and you were not at home either. Well, next time I will call you on the telephone, Mr. Wiggles. Oh, yes, I will call you on the telephone too, Mr. Waggles. And they chatted, and they chatted, and they chatted, until the sun sank low in the sky. And then Mr. Wiggles yawned. Oh, Mr. Waggles, I must be getting home. I have to feed my hamster. And Mr. Waggles yawned. Oh, Mr. Wiggles, I need to get home too. I have to feed my hedgehog. And so they both went back home. They went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill until they got back home. Then they opened their doors, pop. They went inside, pop, and closed their doors, pop. And there they stayed, safe and warm, for the rest of the night. The end. Moon and stars and sun, now our story's done. So, Mr. Wiggles and Mr. Waggles lived in little homes that worked like this, and you can do it too. They open their doors, pop. They go inside, pop, and close their door, pop. But there are other kinds of homes. This is a nest for a robin. This is a hive for a bee. This is a cave for a bear. And this is a house for me. I can curl up like a tiny, tiny seed. I can grow as tall as a big oak tree. I can be as wide as the wide, wide world. Or I can just be me. Goodbye, fire fairies. Thanks for listening. See you next time.